Do you wish that you could find a partner that right away from day one is 100% real, 100% honest, 100% authentic? It can be extremely difficult to find those who don't wear a mask. And this is so real, and I've experienced this so many times. Because inside, I used to believe that everyone was the same as me, and that everyone was real. I used to truly believe that people were authentic. I am Holly, and I'm sharing a part of my journey to bring courage and inspire you on yours. And I can't tell you how many times I have attempted to be in romantic partnerships with guys who I thought were real. And it can be extremely disheartening knowing how many dishonest people there are out there. I have had on several occasions men tell me that they're separated for 2 years. I swear 2 is like the magic number when it comes to these lying, cheating, dishonest men. 2 years is like the magic number. And maybe it's because when you contract with these fictional corporations known as the government, that in order to remove yourself from those marriage certificates, those contracts, you need to be in separation for a certain period of time as a trial, because that's how their contracts work, usually on a year-to-year basis. And after a certain period of time, then you can dissolve the partnership. And so these fake guys cheating on their wives or girlfriends, they don't even necessarily have to be married. Some of them just say that they're single. And several times I find out the truth. The one guy ended up renewing his vows, well, supposedly renewed his vows with his wife after being in separation, which is, they weren't separated. They were still living together. They had 5 kids. Another guy, when I'm working in the coal mine, when I lived out west in Western Canada, I was working in the coal mine for a steel fabrication company, working with welders and iron workers, and we were building a plant expansion. And so there was electricians, there was different trades there, and I was a laborer doing different things. And I started dating one of the electricians, and I'd been single for a while before that, and this was 13 years ago. And I knew all the electricians well because everyone worked together, and I even went and did a best ball golf tournament with them, because the one guy, it was all guys, and the one guy couldn't go because his grandmother passed, so he had to leave and go to the funeral. And so I played best ball with them. So again, I know all these guys well, and the one guy who got me the job in the coal mine came into the bar that I was working at. I was bartending and bar backing, and they offered me a job, and the manager of the electricians, the head guy, him and I were pretty good friends before really getting into the job. So anyways, I must have been there maybe 4 months before I started hanging out with this guy. And probably, I don't even know, 5 months into dating, 4 or 5 months into dating, and I had to move. I was like, I wouldn't sleep with my boss. My boss at the coal mine. He was giving me a hard time because I wouldn't sleep with him. 2 weeks of hell. And I was acting supervisor when my supervisor went away on vacation. And so the head guy had to talk to me in order to talk to the crew because I was acting supervisor. And we went on his boat. We went tubing. We were hanging out. I never gave him any indication I was interested in that way. Because I wouldn't sleep with him, he gave me a hard time. And I had to quit. Because it was either I had to quit or I had to sleep with him in order to not be harassed anymore. So I left the job, and then I was working on a movie set for Santa Pups. They were doing a movie set, so I helped with set decoration. And then I was going to be making snow on the ski hill. I was going to be making $9 an hour with a free ski pass. I would have just gotten by. I was 3 months behind in bills. I'm like, oh my gosh. And my friend called me, and she's like, move up here, higher paying jobs, lower cost of living, more job opportunities. So in like 3 days, I packed up, and this electrician that I was dating, he drove me and helped me move. And this is like, it must have been about a 12-hour drive to where I was moving to. And it was out of province. And so he moved me 12 hours from his job site. And he lived from the job site probably about 12 hours in the opposite direction. But they'd be on their job site for 2.5 to 3 months at a time before they'd go home. So he came up to visit me probably a month, maybe about a month or so after I moved up there. And while he's in the store, I get a text message. And the text message is from his girlfriend saying that he had told her, because they have a shared phone number, and so she would see all the calls and texts to this one number, an Ontario number, and he just said that it was just someone that he worked with. So she texted me, and she's like, hey, it's blah, blah, blah's girlfriend. I have to ask you because he told me that you're just friends and you work together, but you actually live in Ontario. And I said, he's with me right now. I said, please don't message me again. Because I always want to believe that the person that I'm with is honest with me and that they are truthful and that I have nothing to worry about. So I asked her to stop messaging me. Well, doesn't he come out of the store, gets in the truck, looks at me, and he's like, what's wrong? I said, nothing. I was like, nothing. Let's just go. So we get back to where I was staying with my friend. And I'm the type of person that I want to process. I process everything first. And then I decide how to address what just happened or what's about to happen. I don't react. I've never been that way. And so we get in the house, and I was like, so blah 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 just messaged me, and he's like, oh, what'd she say? I was like, well, she said you guys are still dating and you're living together, and that if you're with me, that she's going to be packed up and move all her stuff out before you get home. And he's like, oh, well, I wanted to tell you, we really haven't had a relationship for a while. And I was like, yeah, you should probably go. And I texted her and she's like, thank you very much for telling me. Thank you for telling me. I'm going to be packed and I'll be gone before he gets back. And that guy that I was friends with, who was the supervisor of the electricians, knew. All those guys knew. And I'd hang out and watch football with all of them. We would all hang out together. And none of them had the balls to tell me that he had a girlfriend. Because the bro code. All of that group, they sat there and watched and allowed him to sacrifice me and his girlfriend that he'd been with for 5 years. These are the decisions that these unhealed boys make. Another guy I was with just got out of a marriage. And he didn't have anywhere to live. And I had been renovating a property I bought that I fully gutted, and it was turning into a duplex. And where I was living with my child was tiny. And there's no way him and his daughter could fit in there. So this is when I went to purchase a second property, and that decision is how I lost my real estate license, because of all of these people in this community making false reports and false claims against my name and my professionalism. And because of this guy who just got out of a marriage, who I'd been friends with for 3 years before, and I saw all these triggers, all these buttons that he had within him when he claimed to me that he didn't have a marriage with her for at least a few years, if not longer. That it was no longer a good relationship. And they had basically not been together for a while. They just put on a show for the public. And then he ends up breaking up with me because I went on a trip. And he told me that, oh, we just don't mesh well together, that we don't have anything in common. Meanwhile, we had sex, we had spirituality, we had our values, we literally had what most would see as perfection in a relationship. But because I started to remind him of his ex-wife because of everything that she did against him, he now projected onto me, even though he went on another vacation and didn't invite me. And so I planned a trip the same time he was going to be gone away. I lost everything because of me choosing that relationship. I lost my rental properties. I lost my retirement investment. I lost my profession, my real estate career, which I had just gotten my broker's license and was going to be opening up a brokerage. And I'm telling you, like, this was a whole community. It wasn't just him. It was a whole community that fought against me. There was voodoo black magic in my attic. I had stalkers surveilling me. Like, it was ridiculous. My child's father, we worked on the same job site together for about 6 months. Then we started talking after 6 months of working on the same site. Then we started talking. He told me that he was separated for 2 years. He told me that he was going to talk to his wife prior to us hanging out. And then he comes back and tells me, oh yeah, I talked to her and she said, good, it's about time the kids are old enough. Let's sell the house and we can finally move on. Then we talked about having a family. And the first time that we attempted to do it, it was really messed up how I got pregnant. Then just last year, when I gained the balls to finally stand up for myself against everybody that I had been trying to show what life is about, for 10 years, I literally put faith into all these people who shouldn't have had my faith. I had the balls, finally, to tap into my internal wisdom and knowing, and I found all this stuff out. I confronted his wife. She knew nothing about me. They were still married, and no, she didn't cheat on him, and no, they weren't separated. They were still married. He had a script. He literally laid it all out. His girlfriend contacted me. She was shaking. She was shaking, and she said, he is the worst narcissist I have ever met in my entire life. She told me that he told everybody that I was a one-night stand and that I tried to get pregnant for child support. Meanwhile, the only child support he ever paid me was just enough money for me to drive my child 6 hours every other weekend, or however often he actually wanted his child, which sometimes was 3 weeks or a month, because he chose work over family all the time. That money that he gave me for child support was just enough for my gas money and a little bit of wear and tear on my truck for me driving 6 hours out of my weekend just for him to see his child, because he chose to stay down there and abandon his pregnant girlfriend and his unborn child. Because he knew the fucked up situation he just put everybody in. He cheated on his wife. He turned a whole community against me. And he left his unborn child. And he played the victim card for almost 10 years. He even introduced me to his mother. He brought me to meet his mother. That was before, like, I might have just gotten pregnant, or even before I got pregnant. I had an ex contact me because him and his wife are swingers, and they tried to get me down there because I have the good. And he just couldn't get me out of his head, and I guess out of other areas either. So these codependent, trauma bonding men. And this is the thing, this is the kicker. I was raised to get married and have a family. I was saving myself for marriage. I didn't even have sex till I was 19. Because I thought that my first relationship was going to be my forever. I am going to be single until these men start to take accountability for themselves. There's so many women who have manipulated good men into these traumatizing relationships because these good men were raised in a traditional sense to get married, have kids, and never get a divorce. And that's not God's way. That is not God's will. Our prime creator appoints who you are to come into union with. Our prime creator decides that. And these manipulative, toxic Jezebel women have I love men. I was a huge tomboy, and the majority of my best friends growing up were guys. I got a lot of respect from a lot of these good friends that I carried. There are a lot of good men out there who are so confused and choose to continue to stay in toxic patterning, even when they know that they shouldn't be with these women, only because of the children. And they don't even think of the fact that these children grow up witnessing their parents in unhealthy relationships, and then it carries on through the generations. This is the legacy that you are leaving when you choose to stay in these fake marriages and these fake partnerships and relationships. The children now grow up believing that they should find a partner who is going to treat them like shit. There are so many people who don't get how observant children are. And that's why when I found out when I was pregnant that my son's father, that every single thing he had promised me that he was going to backtrack on, and then he wanted to shift it to everything that he wanted rather than everything we agreed to prior to me even having sex in order to try and have a family with him. I told him, I'm not staying with you just because I'm having your child. I would rather my child know us happy apart than unhappy together. And who has the balls to be able to make that decision for their future, the children's future? I have chosen to try and help these men who didn't want help. I showed them how it is to be loved genuinely. I showed them how it is to have romantic gestures. Some of these men would cry when they'd walk away from me. They would bawl their eyes out because they know I'm the truth. They know I'm real. Some of them would even tell me, I know I don't deserve you. I've had friends. Growing up, I had friends who would be like my best friends. And some of them really genuinely loved me. And some of them chose not to tell me. And when I'd find out, they would say that they don't want to fuck up our friendship. Where's our friendship now? What did it matter then? The only reason that these friends of mine, who were soulmates of mine, they chose not to choose me, and they used the excuse that I don't want to fuck up our friendship. They used that excuse because they didn't have the grit and the guts to man up to be able to take care of a strong woman like me. They couldn't make way for my feminine to shine through. Because they weren't willing to take responsibility for their own lives. They wanted a weak-willed woman, a weak Jezebel spirit, who they could continue to live their toxic patterning with, who wouldn't give them much flack because they knew that that woman would just let him do his thing and she'd do hers, and they could half-ass it all the way home. Look at me now. It's a pretty fucked up world sometimes. And you know what? there are some really great people out there. And there are this past week, I have been so proud of my fellow brothers and sisters and the strength in their conviction and them standing up for themselves. Standing up with healthy boundaries, using their voice, stating their value, and that they won't be walked over anymore. They choose no longer to be a doormat. I am so proud of you all. Those of you who have really done the inner work, done the work to heal your past traumas, and done the work so that your children will know what life is truly about and how they truly deserve to be treated. And the only way that's ever going to happen is when you stand up for yourself. And that's not about being bossy, being a bitch, being an ass. It's not about that. It's about setting those healthy boundaries and not allowing anyone, no longer allowing anyone to walk over them. I would dim my light. I would almost cower when I would know that I'm going to trigger my partner because I didn't want them to hurt. I really didn't want anybody to hurt. And everybody chose to hurt me. And that's okay. I forgave them all. Thanks. Thanks. Back. So I would dim my light. And I would compromise. I would compromise on who I was. Because I didn't want them to hurt. Because of something else that somebody did to them. That they chose to carry and project onto me. Do you know what happens when an angel cries and their tears fall? You're about to find out. Stand up for your next generations. Stand up for your children and stand up for your values. Use your voice. Stop fearing what other people are going to think about you. Take control of yourself. Take accountability for your actions. Whatever you've chosen to do against others, you can stop. You can change. You can bring yourself to wholeness again. Stop allowing your developmental traumas, your traumatic adaptations, to run your life. It doesn't matter who you've hurt. You can shift now. We all are capable. Do what's best for you. And everything else works out. Mwah. Blessings to you all.